Yeah.
Use my internet. There we
We
go.
Broadcast live. Yeah, where I live, man, it's the actual worst in winter.
Oh,
I
what's
live,
going on, everybody? What is up? We are here to do your start or sit questions today. That's right. My name is Chase Verdon. I am joined over here by Thomas Tipple. You can find him on Twitter at Thomas Tipple FF. I'm also joined by Coach Steve. You can find him over there at Coach Steven P on Twitter. And you can find me on Twitter at FF_intervention. We are here to answer your starter sit questions, go through some of the inactives and actives, and talk about a very busy week in terms of injuries. As we continue to progress throughout the day, we have seen some hopefulness, over there from the Bills, of course, with Josh Allen. We've also seen some negative reports, such as Kyler Murray unlikely to play. John Wolford might be getting the start. We might see a backup game on Sunday Night Football. Get excited for that. But yes, we want to answer your starter sit questions. We want to make sure that you guys are making the right decisions to win your fantasy league, such as starting Curtis Samuel in Week 9. Whew, what a week it's been. Now, let's talk about this game real quick before we dive into the actives and inactives, right? Let's talk about this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team because their front seven is starting to look more and more every year like the front seven that we've seen from the past. And we've seen guys completely unable to run up against this team. Kenneth Walker's been struggling. They're starting to get involved in the receiving game a little bit more, but are you guys a little bit more hesitant moving forward to play a running back up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Here's the problem at this point in the year. How many options are you going to have? So if a running back is I don't think you have the choice to play matchups that often week to week at this point. So if your running back is a good player, sure. But as always, you always want guys that catch passes anyway. So even if they can't run against them, you're hoping that they're catching passes. That's why you always want pass catching running backs. We cannot hammer that point home enough.
That the point value that you get from reception versus a rushing attempt. Yeah. But Steve, are you a little bit hesitant, regardless of how good the running back is, to play up against the Buccaneers moving forward?
I think it depends on the running back. I mean, we're looking over the last 2 weeks now. The Rams and Seattle that the Bucs have played, their front lines are pretty bad. Let's be real, their front line aren't the best in the world, and it's led to bad performances from last week and then obviously this week with Kenneth Walker so far. But if it's a good running back with a good offensive line, I'm not going to just completely sheer away from them because if you looked at past success, I mean, they've allowed running backs to produce, but it just hasn't happened over the last few weeks, which is obviously not great for fantasy, but good for the Bucs defense. So unless it's a really bad running back with a bad offensive line, I'm still going to probably start him or flex him at best. So.
All right, make sure y'all get those starter sit questions. I do see that Jamie already has one moving forward. How are we looking on the actives and inactives? Because Ezekiel Elliott's a big question mark right now. There's some other guys that I really think will end up having massive exponential, essentially, effects on some of these matchups and how you approach your fantasy lineup. So have we hit some of these active and inactives yet?
Working on it right now.
All right. What about you?
Not a lot of information yet. So inactives right now. So obviously it looks like Josh Allen is playing. Not a lot. Josh Reynolds in Detroit is not playing. Other than that, we don't have a ton of information yet. Brevin Jordan being out for Houston. But there's not a lot of information out just yet.
I mean, are you hesitant about playing Josh Allen going into this matchup?
Oh, hell yeah. You have to be. This whole matchup is it's crazy that there's 3 matchups that you're relying on. The Rams. Some people still play Allen Robinson for some reason. Then you got obviously Cooper Kupp, the running backs, whoever it's going to be. Then you've got the Cardinals, DeAndre Hopkins, Rondale Moore, Zach Ertz, and whoever the running back is. And then you have the Bills with Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Singletary, and that offense. You're getting 10 fantasy players are affected by either injured or backup quarterbacks this week. And I don't remember the last time that was as prominent, while also having Joe Burrow and Lamar Jackson on bye weeks. It's an insane week for that. It's insane.
Yeah, agreed 100%. All right. Let's go ahead and dive into a starter sit question. Start out with Jamie Proggs. What's going on? By the way, fantasy football discussion. Thank you for joining us today. Jamie wants to bring in DeAndre Carter, AJ Dillon, or Michael Pittman. Michael Pittman has been somewhat of a shell of himself ever since Sam Ehlinger came in. Very disappointing. DeAndre Carter is the secondary wide receiver behind Josh Palmer, starting over there for the Chargers. And then AJ Dillon. Is Aaron Jones playing this week? I didn't see that.
He is.
Okay, so
Exactly.
AJ Dillon's been a massive disappointment and faces a very tough Dallas defense with Micah Parsons, heading the way. So for me, of those three, I'm going to go ahead and bench AJ Dillon. He just hasn't done enough for me yet. And I know that I keep on pushing AJ Dillon. This is the point that I say, hey, if you can't produce up against the Detroit Lions, I don't want you.
Or
Now-
since week one.
Or since week one. Now it's like, okay, do you want DeAndre Carter or do you want Pittman? And DeAndre Carter has a better quarterback situation. The matchup is meh. But I mean, I don't know. Which way are you guys leaning? Because I still want to believe in Pittman and think that Pittman still has it. And by the way, they said that Matt Ryan is back in the mix to be a starter again by halftime if Sam Ehlinger ends up failing. So, I kind of want to believe that Pittman still has it. And I kind of want to believe that that they're going to pass the ball enough to make him relevant. But we could also see a game where Jonathan Taylor rushes it 30 times if he's healthy.
I'm still going to play Pittman. I still am.
Yeah, agreed. He's still seeing at least 6 targets in every single game this season. He's still clearly their wide receiver one in a matchup it's favorable. The Raiders defense has not been that great this season, especially in the secondary. And Carter is a better sleeper player in maybe a 14 or 16 man league. But the 49ers defense is good, so I'd probably rather go Pittman still. He's just their number one. Carter's not.
Well, they did see Jason Verrett, their secondary corner. I believe he ended up tearing his ACL, was it? He ended up getting hurt, so he's out for at least a significant amount of time, if not the rest of the season. It's disappointing because Verrett has not been able to stay healthy. His Achilles, yeah. So he has not been able to stay healthy his entire career. I think he's played 19 career games over 6 or 7 years, and he's been very good in all of them, but he has not been able to stay healthy. DeAndre Carter could see an opportunity up against a backup cornerback, which I think is interesting. But yeah, I think you still got to go Pittman. You drafted Pittman, in the 3rd or 4th round. DeAndre Carter is so hit or miss. And I know Michael Pittman hasn't been great, but I still think he offers more upside and a higher floor than DeAndre Carter.
Carter is one of those players that gets consistently this is his week. This is gonna be it. And then it's just fart noises. He's just one of those guys. We want him to be good, but he just hasn't been.
Axel, love you, man. But wait till after this week before you start fucking JT, okay?
Oh, all right. Whoa, hey.
Are these inactives up yet, Thomas? Because I want to blow through these before we start answering starter sit questions.
We've got so far. All we have right now is Kyler Murray testing his hamstring pregame. Brandon Cooks expected to play. Kenny Golladay expecting to play.
Oh my God!
To quote, receive ample playing time. Matthew Stafford unlikely to play. Elijah Mitchell being brought off. He's going to play. Josh Allen is playing, and it just says Zeke is a game time decision. Fitzpatrick is out. Dotson is in. McKissick is out. Debo will play. That's all I have for you at the moment.
All right. Daniel Bellinger's out too. That's a big one. All right, let's go ahead.
He's potentially done for the year because he broke his eye socket. Yeah. I don't think Bellinger's just not playing again this year. Probably his eye socket got broken. That's insane. Brutal.
That is very brutal. Josh Reynolds is also out, just to give you a heads up. All right, let's go ahead and let's hop on to another starter sit questions. We have Josh Allen with Burrow as the backup on bye. He picked up Jimmy G for an emergency fill-in. So what does he do? Does he play Jimmy G or does he play Josh Allen? We talked about Jimmy G having a matchup up against the Chargers, who haven't been great up against the quarterback. That you can get yards against them, but we don't know if they're just going to run Christian McCaffrey against the Chargers, who suck up against the running back. We could just see Christian McCaffrey have 20 carries, maybe even 30 carries this week, and Jimmy Garoppolo not have to pass it. Steven, which way are you going?
I think there's got to be a fine line at some point when it comes to Josh Allen today. I think if you had to look at rankings and you're looking at the top 10 overall, to me, Jimmy G is not in my top 10. So I would probably still start Josh Allen. It's a little risky, obviously, because you just don't know what's going to happen with Allen, but the talent is there. I mean, he can still run the ball. We saw over the last few weeks now he's been running the ball a little bit more, so I wouldn't be surprised if he sees more carries in that sense and tries to get out of the pocket more and tries to bait off defenders. So I'm still probably going to stick with Josh Allen, even over Jimmy G.
I look at it this way, Corey. If you can handle having 10 points from Garoppolo and you'll be fine, and you don't want to worry about a complete dud from Allen, you can play Garoppolo, right? It's on your risk tolerance. Garoppolo could easily walk away with 20 points. We saw he accidentally scored 20 points the last time we saw him on the field, and he has Debo back, right? And of course, he has McCaffrey on there. I think his weapons are more than fine enough. He just needs some touchdowns. If you think they can score touchdowns on the Chargers, I would be totally able to see you playing Garoppolo over Allen this week if your risk tolerance isn't high enough to stomach the disappointment of Allen potentially.
I think that we see a higher floor and ceiling from Jimmy G this week. I mean, a UCL is a big deal for pitchers. I haven't seen too many injuries with quarterbacks personally. I probably should do some research on that before
as
speaking.
Someone who has had it go bye, it's not good. It's you can't do anything. But if it's a sprain, he would be okay, but it's not going to be great.
It makes me feel better if he takes a shot, but I don't think he's going to take a shot today. I think he needs to test his pain tolerance with it, and he needs to be able to feel the stress that he puts on it. We could also see Josh Allen pulled, by the second half. So if it is aggravating him, if it's not, out there, if he ends up getting hit, put some stress on that arm while rushing, there's just too much risk with Josh Allen. I think that Jimmy G has a high floor and a high ceiling this week. I think that it could end up being a higher scoring game than what we expect for the Chargers and the 49ers. I'm going to take Jimmy G. All right. Dak or Allen for quarterback. This one's pretty easy for me. I'm going Dak Prescott. Whether or not Ezekiel Elliott is healthy or not doesn't really matter.
I'll take Dak.
Yeah,
I do think it is a lower scoring game to an extent, but Dak can offer you a little bit of rushing upside inside the 5 and inside the red zone, especially if Zeke doesn't play. I think that makes it more enticing. And then you still have some good matchups. Jair Alexander has been very good this year, but teams have been able to beat him. I'm not too worried about it. Alex, you can see my pants, bro. It's fine. I'm wearing pants today. Jeez, man, I'm never not wearing pants on here again. All right, Khalil Herbert, Mac, or Thielen.
I'm playing Khalil Herbert.
Khalil Herbert's so sexy in this matchup up against the Detroit Lions. I mean, if they go up, which I expect them to an extent, maybe up by 10, 7 points, somewhere in that range, I think Khalil Herbert could see a ton of upside here. I know that I took A.J. Dillon as the backup running back last week to outperform the starter. Didn't happen. This week, I do think that happens. Khalil Herbert is my pick over Mac Hollins and Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I agree with you guys.
Thielen, I want to see Thielen with Hawkinson for another game. Isn't it crazy that Hawkinson had such few designed plays for him in Detroit, and he came into Minnesota and had over 22% of his plays designed for him, which was more than he ever had in Detroit. He was there for 4 days.
No,
disgusting.
Hawkinson's great, and these guys have always wanted a tight end. The issue has been is that, we've seen it with the previous regime, right? Where Higbee was a feature point of this offense, right? Gerald Everett was a feature point of this offense. They just didn't have very talented tight ends. Like, Higbee's not a very talented player. So now they have Hawkinson who can block, who can get open, and who has hands. They're going to utilize him, and I think that Hawkinson finishes as a top 3 tight end rest of season. All right, let's go ahead and go to risk starting Josh Allen or put in Daniel Jones as my backup. The Giants have a good matchup against the Texans, right?
They have a good running matchup against the Texans.
Yeah, but the Texans aren't great. I mean, we could see RPO. What Daniel Jones has 6 rushing and designed attempts per game, I believe. Or at least that was the last time I looked at it. He's getting opportunities and he's moving the ball. I mean, Kenny Galladay's playing, so obviously we gotta start Daniel Jones, right? Kidding. I do think that Daniel Jones is more likely going to be my play in this one, but I don't think that Daniel Jones has a ton of upside because Saquon Barkley is going to take it to the house on multiple occasions on the ground. So we could see Daniel Jones with 20, 25 passing attempts, but we could also see him with 25 passing attempts with 2 touchdowns and 220 yards. And it's going to get you more than what Josh Allen's going to get you this week.
My answer for all of the Josh Allen questions are going to kind of be the same. It's on your risk tolerance. If you can stomach a horrific game, so basically if you're putting out Josh Allen and you're comfortable with him ending up either being Sam Darnold or himself, then you play Josh Allen. If you cannot handle that, if your team cannot handle that, and you need a baseline, I would play Daniel Jones. But it's up to your risk tolerance. That will be my reply for every Josh Allen question this week.
Well, I mean, where do you draw the line? Like for him not starting?
I don't know.
Like obviously Patrick Mahomes is ahead of him.
Heineke.
Likely Tua's ahead of him.
Tay probably. Guys like Heineke.
Okay.
So is he top 20 quarterback for you?
I'm sorry?
Is he a top 20 quarterback for you?
Heineke or Allen?
Allen.
Yeah. He has to be. He just be base. He could not throw a pass and still score 15 points. Right? Like that. It's still Josh Allen out there. His elbow may hurt, but they could run a wildcat and he could still score twice and rush for 80 yards and there'd be nothing they'd be able to do about it. So he's still Josh Allen. He still provides you that baseline. And guys like Tay not only have horrific matchups, but I mean, he's kind of bad. So at that point, yeah, you play a guy like Allen.
So real quick, well, I'm sorry, Steven, you didn't answer that one. Who are you taking?
I'm probably still taking Josh Allen, honestly. I mean, only thing is that if Daniel Jones runs the ball a lot, that's the thing would make his day. But I don't know if he's going to run the ball a lot. I don't know if he's going to run the ball as often. I expect the Giants to be kind of ahead in this game, especially with Saquon, like just running out the clock all game long. Like if Saquon doesn't have like the RB1 week, I'll be shocked, honestly. So I'd still probably just saw Josh Allen in that sense.
All right, Randy brings up he feels like the Bears Lions is a trap game and it's going to be super low scoring, and that makes a lot of sense, Randy, because you do have two teams that want to establish the run. This is their organizational philosophy. Is like, hey, we want to establish the run, we want to run the ball, and if the Detroit Lions end up going down a couple of touchdowns in this one, and they can't end up getting yardage out of Amon-Ra St. Brown because he faces bracketed coverages, and Swift isn't 100% healthy, and the Lions just run the ball down their throat, we're going to see a very quick time possession for the Lions, and we're going to end up seeing just the Bears just run down the clock. I mean, this could be a game where it's 2010 very easily. I don't think it's going to go this way because the Bears, as of late, have shown they want to get the ball outside the pocket. They want to get it in Justin Fields' hands. I know they've been a negative game script, which does play a massive factor into this. However, I think with Chase Claypool there, they showed you what they want to do and trading an early second-round pick most likely for it. They want to get Justin Fields experience. This is more about developing Justin Fields than it is winning games, and I think that they will continue to pass based on what I've seen over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, and they're both bad against the run too. So even if they do just run the ball, it could still provide like a lot of offense. Like that's still definitely possible. I mean, Khalil Herbert breakaway run. I mean, hey.
I think it could be high scoring, honestly. The defenses are both bad. They've been both letting up points lately. I could see it really being a high scoring game here, even with running the ball. I mean, I could see both teams rushing for almost 200 yards today somehow.
I do think it's crazy that they're like the highest, if not one of the highest implied point totals at 48.5. Yep. Like I would definitely take the under, but I don't think it's necessarily going to be like a 20-13 type game. But I would still take the under at 48.5 implied points. That's a little crazy to me.
Big shout out to Fantasy Football Discussion for joining us. Make sure you all go follow us over there on youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Once again, that's youtube.com/fantasy intervention. Come join us over there, bring in those questions. We got a fantasy football discussion question up. He needs a quarterback, Jones or Garoppolo. I feel a lot better about Garoppolo than I do Daniel Jones this week. Garoppolo for me is a smash play.
Agreed.
I think he finishes top 10 this week.
Ooh, a little higher than I would think, but hey, let's go. He can do it. All he has to do is be adequate enough to get the ball to his team, not the other team. They like that's all he's got to do, and it's baked in.
Steven?
Yeah, probably going to go Jimmy G on this one, too. I like his floor overall, and I just don't know if Daniel Jones has that floor this week.
All right. Yes, we have been, Randy. We've been watching the Bucs versus Seahawks. Bucs looked very good up front. Honestly, they're dominating the Seahawks a lot more than I thought they would. But, this is what happens with Tom Brady-led teams later in the season. They start to put it all together. We've seen it multiple occasions. So, all right. Dak or Allen, I think we already answered this one, but I do want to bring it up again just to reiterate. I took Dak. I think all three of us took Dak, correct?
Yes.
All right. All right, Jimmy G or Trevor Lawrence on this one. All right, Trevor Lawrence is going to have a massive week. I have Trevor Lawrence finishing in the top 10 up against the Chiefs, who have a very porous secondary that will allow infinite number of fantasy points to the quarterback position, to the wide receiver position, and to the tight end position, and to the running back position. They've just been a giant hole for fantasy points to fall into. Trevor Lawrence is going to be forced to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. I think that Travis Etienne is a major play. I think Christian Kirk is a major play. I think you can play Evan Ingram, and then Trevor Lawrence for me is a top 5 quarterback this week. Anybody want to take a different stab at this?
I'm still gonna play Garoppolo.
Really?
Yeah. Trevor Lawrence's upside has been shown twice this year, hitting 20 fantasy points, and I understand that he rushed for the first time. Really, last week he had 53 rushing yards. Finally. But he has this thing where he likes to gift the other team the ball regularly, half the time very much like one Zach Wilson does, especially if he gets in the pressure and he gets pinched and he has to make pretty miraculous plays. I don't know if he will. So I think they'll take away guys like Christian Kirk, and I think they are going to run the ball quite a bit. But I haven't seen I'd rather play Garoppolo in his offense more than I would rather play Lawrence on the hopes of he'll need to come back, because that's not a key lock for fantasy success, is having to come back or having to keep up with the Chiefs. Sometimes you just get bodied by the Chiefs and there is no opportunity to come back. So I'll still play Garoppolo. I know you and Jacob are both all in on what you've seen from Trevor Lawrence, especially for this week, but I can't do it.
All right, let's go ahead and let's hop on to our next question. If you guys don't have, or if you guys have any questions for us, get them in the chat, of course. Make sure you guys go over there to subscribe on YouTube, youtube.com/fantasy intervention. What do you guys think about Rachaad White starting over Leonard Fournette over here? It's somewhat telling, but at the same time, Leonard Fournette's been dominating for the most part, got the touchdown in there, and has been a major component to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers' success so far in this game. So what's your takeaway?
Like, White's out touching Fournette right now, but they're up. They're up big. Right? I think they're up 21-3 the last time I looked. So, yeah, they're going to give touches to a running back who is very explosive while they're up that big, to preserve a guy like Fournette. I'll be interested in Rachaad White when he takes over the 2-minute, right? I'll be interested in White when he is the come from behind running back, the 2-minute drill running back, when he starts overtaking the targets. I don't really care about touches if they're not targets and receptions. But I think it's interesting for sure, but Fournette's just kind of older. I think that's more.
Does it help that Fournette is doubtful to return in this game today with a hip injury?
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what his long-term output is. I actually missed that part of it, but
just happened.
It literally just happened.
Well, the notification just came in now that he's doubtful to return, so it must have happened on their last drive.
That explains why he's getting out-touched by.
Did you guys see that?
We played a lot this last drive here prior to the Seattle scoring.
Yeah, that stiff arm was brutal that he took, and then he took a shot to the back right after that. But that stiff arm was sick. All right, is there any more inactives or actives that have popped up that we haven't covered yet? Because right now we don't have any more questions up, so we're going to get out of here early. They're going to let us off easy.
Mike Williams is out. Keenan Allen is out. I think we all kind of expected Keenan Allen to be out. Arizona has not listed any of their outs yet, obviously, because that game is a little later. Waiver wire darling Deion Jackson, he's out. Most people knew that one already. Tennessee has a laundry list of outs, but it's mostly on the defense, so that's interesting. Obviously, we have Bud Dupree, Amani Hooker, Jeffrey Simmons, Fulton, he's also out. Zach Cunningham is out. The Titans are banged up on defense. Denver could be running the football here. Who knows? Tannehill is playing, so that's big. We don't have to watch Malik Willis suck at football for another week. Simmons is out. Hamler is out. Browning is out for Denver. Already listed the Giants and Houston's. Not really too much.
Wait, real quick. Are you playing Treylon Burks this week?
Yes.
Up against Patrick Surtain? He's going to get the Surtain treatment. Dude, nobody's produced up against Surtain outside Devontae Adams, who needed 12 targets to do so.
Go play Ashton Dulin instead. What are your options? Honestly, for most people, what are your options?
I don't think the options are that outlandish this week.
Mm,
John Dotson, maybe. Christian
yeah,
Watson. Christian
again,
Watson, I'd play over him.
for the most part, you're already playing
Raymond.
those guys, though. Like, you're already playing those guys a lot of the time. That's what I mean. Like, Khalif Raymond, sure, but Burks is a good player. I mean, he's only one. Tannehill is back. Surtain might be on the outside.
Chase
If he's on the
Claypool?
outside, and Burks is inside, I'd rather play Burks.
True, but we don't know what that lineup's going to look like quite yet.
Sure. I'm playing a good player in a game where they'll need him, and they've obviously been without him. So we'll see. But I'm gonna play Burks. I'm cautiously playing Burks. Like, that's the thing. You put a guy in after an injury, you're cautious.
Real quick, Randy brought up the fact that he couldn't believe he dropped White last week, and honestly, that shouldn't have happened. Like,
Never drop
White
White.
should be a hold, and another guy that you should be holding right now is Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren should be somebody that if he's on your waivers, I don't care if it's a 10-man league. If it's a 10-man league, I'm picking up Jaylen Warren because it's starting to look more and more like Tomlin. What I compared this to earlier in the season was like, this is going to be forever Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, right? But then I kind of realized like Tomlin is more of an innovative like head coach. The ownership isn't as involved. They're going to play the best player. And we saw them trade away Chase Claypool, although they spent draft capital on him, to play some of their younger guys, to get George Pickens more involved in the offense. Now we're going to see Jaylen Warren possibly step in for Najee Harris because he looks like the more electric back. So Jaylen Warren is also somebody that you should be grabbing when you have an opportunity to.
Yeah, I mean, he's the starter in Pittsburgh because Najee sucks. So this is what it is.
All right. Do we have 49ers or Steelers?
No Minka Fitzpatrick for the Steelers this week, which I think is kind of a big deal, actually. But TJ Watt is back. That's a tough question, actually. Against New Orleans and turnover master himself, Andy Dalton. And then the Chargers, oh man, play Pittsburgh. They're likely to get a couple of sacks. I mean, TJ Watt's the best player there is. Like, he is absolutely phenomenal. The fact that he's even playing is pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, defense for sure.
But again, no Minka, so it's like it's tough. Minka's going to be out a couple of weeks. There's secondary in Pittsburgh's not that great. I mean, the 49ers defense is still hella good. I'm going to change my answer. I'm going to take the 49ers. Herbert has not been that good this year, honestly. Well, not for fantasy purposes anyway. And I think Austin Eckler has a really rough matchup this week. So I'm actually going to take the 49ers.
I want to take the team that has the most potential to get an interception return for a touchdown. I think that's going to be the 49ers. I don't see like that Steelers defense really having an effect. I think the Saints take care of the ball for the most part. I think Alvin Kamara is going to see a ton of rushing attempts. I just don't see as many turnovers over there against the Steelers as I do the 49ers. I want turnovers and I want sacks. Give me the 49ers defense. All right. Should I put in Russell Wilson with Josh Allen's status in the air? I'm projected to win by 10 with Allen, and it's about even with Wilson. Honestly, I think that Russell Wilson's going to have a massive game up against a very beat up Tennessee Titans defense. I talked about it for DFS purposes. I do have some Russell Wilson shares in DFS. I don't love playing Russell Wilson over, maybe like a Derek Carr or somebody along those lines, but I will take him over a riskier option in Josh Allen to get those guaranteed points. Sometimes projections mean something. 10 points for me doesn't mean enough.
It's terrifying to suggest possibly playing Russell Wilson, but I just listed that half of the starters in Tennessee are out this week. It could be a week to do so. So I, again,
Russell Wilson was good last week.
Risk tolerance. Risk tolerance is what matters with Josh Allen. I'll say it 100 times. I would play Russell Wilson if you can't handle a potential bust from Josh Allen. But that's it.
I mean, Russ has put up at least 15 points in back-to-back games. It's not pretty, but it's better than the risk of maybe Allen getting hurt in this game and him just not being able to finish this entire game. At least Russ in a positive matchup just gives you at least 15, maybe at least 17 or 19 at least. I'll take that.
I'm just looking at the upside of Josh Allen. It's like 18 points. Like, that's his ceiling this week for me.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson should put that up automatically. So.
Exactly.
Well, let's not go automatically. It's still 2022 Russell Wilson here, Chase. Throwing words like automatically into the mix.
Russell Wilson, let's ride. All right, we have.
He
Should
just
I
cursed
flex?
you, Vega. He cursed you.
Should I flex Dylan Hines or Cooks? This is interesting. They stripped Cooks of the captain. What do they call it? It's such a funny phrase they use. Captain-esque or Captain-Air tag, whatever the heck they called it.
You say captaincy in Canada when it comes to hockey.
Yeah,
So there you go.
but it's a term that I've never heard before. But they stripped him of his captain-esque tag, Captain of the Year tag, whatever the heck it is. Meanwhile, I'm not playing Hines. I'm not playing Dylan. I'll play Cooks. I don't even think this is that close of a question, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm playing Cooks.
Yeah,
Steven?
7 to 9 targets pretty easily in this game. Can't trust either running back.
All right. Honestly, we don't have any more questions, guys. This is probably the easiest week we've ever seen for Star Sit Questions, maybe because I got a late start promoting it. But yeah,
Well,
let
it's
everybody
not
know where
even
to.
that. It's a tough week, man. Like
It is a
think of the players that are out on bye that I mentioned, right? You got the Bengals, you got the Ravens, so that's a bunch. And again, we listed over. Oh, Brady just got picked. You have again 10 potential fantasy players affected, not including the quarterbacks affected, Stafford, Kyler, and Allen. Just the players around them affected. So you're looking at over 15 to 18 dependable, reliable fantasy options brutally affected this week. This is worse than the bye-apocalypse. This is buys plus devastating injuries to the most important players on your fantasy lineups. This is devastating. So if the start and sit questions get real easy when there's 18 some players getting knocked out of contention. That's not even, I didn't even count guys like Zach Ertz, who is touchdown dependent to begin with at this point. Now he's got Colt McCoy? La-di-da, sit him. Like it's brutal, but you can't sit him. Who else are you gonna play? I'm really grossed out, Chase. Like I feel sick to my stomach this week. It's gonna be an absolute nightmare.
Yep. I hear you, man. All right, let's let everybody know where to find you guys. Oh, Brady pick. Just kidding. No.
Damn. That
it just happened for me.
They just showed that it was his first interception thrown. Oh my God! It said something about 399 attempts. I'm assuming that's red zone. Maybe it's crazy. Brady's still so good. This team is bad though.
I wonder if Canada just gets, like if you guys get it sooner because you're closer to Germany than I am.
Sure, we'll go with that. That's how technology works.
All right, guys, let everybody know where to find you.
You can find me over there on Twitter at TomSimpleFF. I am doing TLDRs for some of the biggest articles coming out from Fantasy Points. You can find those threads on there. Did a great DFS one yesterday about the Millie Maker. So if you want an edge on your Millie Makers, go and do that. Then you can find me Tuesdays and Fridays with the Full Tilt Dynasty Podcast Network.
Yeah, and you guys could find me on Twitter at Coach Stephen P. I host the Fantasy Coaches podcast every Monday and Thursday, and you can find me at times writing Dynasty articles for Dynasty Nerds. So check me out.
Love it, man. You guys could check out all of my content over there at FF_intervention on Twitter. Of course, Player Profiler as well. We have the Roto Underworld DFS show on Friday nights at 6 o'clock with Jacob and myself. Thank you guys for tuning in. And thank you all for letting us interview with your start or sit questions. We're out.
Chase left the show.
Well, Chase left and didn't end the broadcast. So he's doing. So Chase is doing what